What is up guys, Andy Forrester Dean Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're stacking up the Hoka Mach X against the Brooks Hyperion Max and the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. So since receiving the Hoka Mach X a couple of weeks ago, I've really enjoyed my time already in this shoe, and I want to stack it up against the two shoes that I initially picked out as competitors to this thing, which was the Brooks Hyperion Max and the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. We're going to be talking about speed, durability and versatility. Those are the 3 points that I want to focus on in today's video, and we're going to stack this thing up against those two and dive right in. If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. We'll start with speed. Now specifically with speed, I want to home in on how the shoes fare over a certain type of pace ranges. So are they good for marathon pace stuff, half marathon, 10k, 5k, that sort of thing. We'll start with the Hoka Mach X, and I'll just give you a quick overview because this shoe I haven't had the most amount of testing in yet. So what I've done in this shoe at the moment is I've done moderate running, which I've really enjoyed, and I've done a progressive long run where I've squeezed things down to in and around that marathon effort and hit around marathon pace. I haven't actually taken this thing up any further yet, and I'm pretty confident that I'm probably not going to. So that gives you an idea as to where I feel comfortable with this shoe, and the kind of, if I'm honest with you, the vibes that I got when I was running in it, that I couldn't really go too much more than that marathon effort. I feel like if I went out for some really short, fast intervals, this thing is just not going to be the shoe that I want to reach for. There's a couple of reasons why, and I feel it's not just down to the foam. The foam is much better than in previous Hokas. Now we're using this PEBA-based material that they're using in the Rocket X. It is got more squish. It doesn't still quite have that responsiveness, that bounce back, and it is quite a wide and chunky platform, which you kind of come to expect with Hokas. It's kind of what you get in a lot of the shoes anyway, and sometimes what I can find with those shoes is they do feel a little bit cumbersome on foot. Where I found this thing really shines is that moderate effort. That's where it really comes to life. That's where I've been loving running in the shoe. And as I said, when I progressed down, I started at an easy pace, got to moderate, went faster than moderate, then got up to marathon pace, and I really went through the gears. And that run, this thing hit 10 out of 10. I couldn't have picked a better shoe. It was so comfortable and such a brilliant run. But I did get to the end of it and go, I definitely don't want to take this thing any faster or any further. Now, as for these two shoes, I put every type of workout in them. This one got retired at 460 miles. This one's just gone over 200 miles. So they've had some good wear in them, and they definitely got a lot of uses out of them. And I knew instantly that I wanted to take these shoes on faster workouts, but this one excels the most at the top end. This is the best all-rounder out of the three shoes. And in the top end intervals, out of the three of these shoes, I'd definitely pick the Hyperion Max. This one comes a close second. I definitely feel like you can really run some comfortable marathon pace efforts, some half marathon pace efforts. And if you want to push it up to 10k, I've definitely done workouts there. But I feel like when you get into that range where you're pushing 10k and 5k paces in workouts, this is a better shoe. It's more streamlined. Obviously, it's firmer than the Speed 3. If you've seen my videos on these shoes, you'll know my thoughts on the midsoles. Firmer midsole, softer midsole. But again, like the Hoka, this has a wider platform. Just holding these two shoes in the midfoot area here, now talking, you can really feel how much more streamlined this shoe is than this one. And that's what I'm looking for in those top end paces. So when it comes down to the three shoes, I kind of feel like the Hoka Mach X does a great job in covering anywhere from easy running all the way up to marathon pace efforts. But anything more than that, I really felt would become cumbersome. And I don't plan on taking it out on any faster workouts. If I'm honest, I feel like I'm going to use this shoe on its sweet spot, and that's where it's going to stay. I feel like this one can do easy paces all the way up to really half marathon efforts is where it shines. Anything quicker, and it does again get a little bit clumpy. And this one is brilliant from easy pace running all the way up to 10 and 5k efforts. This one does the whole range brilliantly. So in terms of speed, I've got to order it in the way of the Hyperion Max, then the Saucony Endorphin Speed, and then the Hoka Mach X in terms of covering the broadest ranges. So let's talk about versatility. I kind of gave you the order in terms of the broadest spectrum of speeds that they can go at, and I feel like the Hyperion Max is the best to cover all bases. So in terms of versatility, again, that shoe would come out on top, and that order would kind of follow through into this as well. But where I kind of want to just dive a little bit deeper is running surfaces and the type of areas that you run in as well. So for me, I run a lot on concrete as well as the trails around here. I never use trail shoes because most of the trails that I run on are very buffed out and very flat. And I know a lot of you guys that watch this channel also run on some very buffed out flat trails as well, and you do have some sections of your runs where you do navigate onto some flat, buffed out trails before getting back onto the road. There's a lot of crossover running that goes on. And as I said, I don't ever wear trail shoes, so I'm looking for a road shoe that has a bit of versatility in it. And again, I've got to say, in terms of ordering, I felt always like the Brooks Hyperion Max, despite its slick look on the bottom, never had any issues running through winter in it on the trails. It was brilliant through some of the muddy sections. Don't get me wrong, none of these shoes dig in and grip, but I felt relatively sturdy and secure. The Speed 3 never really did too well in terms of the wet conditions. It was better than the previous two versions, but the grip was always a bit of an issue with the Speed shoes. Did feel they improved it in this one, but I've still found it can be a little bit slick. The grip in this thing is really darn good, and that's something I really wanted to highlight. In terms of the fact that it looks relatively slick again on the bottom, this stuff really does grip. I've only run in wet conditions in it, and I felt so strong, sturdy and secure when cornering in this shoe, and that is a massive thing because here in the UK we get a lot of rainy winters and a lot of rainy weather, so I'm always looking for something that's going to make me feel secure when cornering. So obviously the versatility side of things, we talked about the paces, and I stick with that list that I gave in the first section, but I wanted to highlight the fact that the grip on the shoe is pretty darn decent. I have done some trail sections in it. It doesn't really do too badly, it doesn't do great. The Brooks Hyperion Max still comes out on top there, but I have to say I'm really impressed with the way that it can handle the wetter conditions. So then finally I want to talk about how durable are these shoes, and then we're going to talk if there's any crossover and whether you need all three in your rotation or if there's a couple that you would just choose and where they kind of fit in to my rotation in particular. So for me, 416 miles, just over 200 miles. In terms of durability, this thing is absolutely fantastic. It did flatten out around that 416 mark. I did start to get some sort of shin pains as the midsole did start to harden up, and that was towards the late 300 miles. I pushed it a little bit more on the trails so it was a bit softer surface, but it became too much and I decided to retire it there. I have pushed speed versions 1, I think it was, higher than 200 mile mark. And again, that lasted, I think it was over 300 miles actually, and that lasted really well. This is over 200, it's got plenty of life left in it. And again, I kind of feel like if I push this shoe, it would probably go past the Brooks Hyperion Max. So in terms of durability, part of me does think that this one will top trump this one, although both of these get top marks for durability. In terms of the Hoka Mach X, if I grab this one, Hoka is the king of not very durable shoes, for me anyway. And my rotation has always been the Rincon 1, the Rincon 2, the Hoka Mach 4. I've tried the Rocket X, and I've tried the original Carbon X. Plus I've had the Torrent 2, and again, most of these shoes with that EVA midsole, they don't last too long. Some of them I haven't even got to 200 miles. So what's interesting for me is this introduction of the PIBA midsole. How much longer will this shoe last than other Hokas? Will it be the same durability? Obviously we've got the compression molded EVA on the bottom here, so there's a good chunk of that there, but this PIBA, is it going to make the difference? It's a question that obviously I can't answer right now because I don't have too many miles in it, but I kind of feel like if you're looking for durability, the other two shoes are a definite safe bet. Tried and tested here, and I can confirm that they're going to go a long way. The Hyperion Max did, and I'm sure the Speed will as well. So at the moment, I guess your feedback would be great to hear how many miles you've got in the Mach X. Some of you shared that in the previous video. It'd be great to hear an updated version if you have any. So I think if you're looking for something that's an all-round package that you know you're going to get a good life out of, those other two shoes are definitely ones that I can vouch for and say you will get longer life out of them. In terms of this one, I guess it's more a case of time will tell. So in terms of having all three of these shoes in your rotation, is it necessary? Definitely not. There's a lot of crossover that goes on here. And my first initial impressions would be you could pair the Mach X with either one of these two shoes, because this is going to cover your bases for the lower end stuff all the way up to sort of pushing marathon pace. And then you can save these two shoes for what they do best, which is pushing the pace a little bit more. Now, in my honest opinion, I'd probably pair it with the Brooks Hyperion Max because you can get more top end stuff out of this. I do kind of prefer a firmer midsole, and I just get on with the shoe a lot better. The Speed 3 in particular has not been the most exciting shoe for me, although it's got the job done. I'd probably pair this thing with the Speed 1 or 2. Again, that shoe was a little bit more, not the similar of the Brooks Hyperion Max, but it had a little bit more edge to it. It felt a little bit speedier, and it certainly did work those higher paces better. So in terms of pairing them up, I definitely consider having two of the three in my rotation. And as I said, I'd look at the Mach X and then probably one of these two shoes. But I think you guys know I'd pick the the Max. So those are my thoughts on the Hoka Mach X against the Brooks Hyperion Max and the Saucony Endorphin 3. They're definitely shoes that as soon as I picked up the Max and started running in it, I thought, I see exactly where Hoka are trying to market this and where it's going to go. That sort of plated, PIBA plated, speedier day shoe with that PIBA based foam. Wonderful shoe, really, really enjoy it. I personally feel, coming to a conclusion now of running in it a few times, that actually it needs to shift down a notch and it doesn't really compete with those other two shoes. I feel like those two really do excel in the quicker ends of the spectrum. The Speed 3 has definitely been one more of a easy and moderate day plodder that has happened more recently because I kind of used the Hyperion Max a little bit more and I was getting some Achilles rubbing in the Speed 3, so it's being used sporadically. But in terms of if I look at the profiles of all the three shoes, how I've used them and what I want to use the Mach X for more often, I definitely feel like Hoka need to take it a little bit down from that speedy day option to kind of like that more moderate marathon pace. And at a push half marathon, but that would be about it for me. So that's kind of where it now sits in after a few more runs in it. And I definitely am going to be plowing the miles into it because despite me feeling like it doesn't quite stack up against those two shoes, I still feel it's a wonderful shoe and it's going to get a ton of miles in my rotation. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Have you tried two of the three shoes? Have you tried the Mach X and one of the others? I'd love to hear what your comparison is. Please drop a comment down below. Would love to read them and I'm sure everyone else would love to hear it too. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. See you in the next one. Until then.